Horizon Enchantress go, but Rakan instead here for aphromoo, who we've heard many times. Everyone loves to see him on the playmakers, and there's good reason for that. Both these supports are actually extremely good when they're on more proactive support, so despite their skill on other classes of support as well, they have been a lot of the driving force for both these teams getting work done, especially in the mid-game. So love to see this kind of matchup here, especially if they're both going to bring Ignite to the table.
Yeah, it is very interesting to see aphromoo actually going towards the Rakan. I've got to say I'm a little bit surprised. I do think that, you know, there's pretty evasive carries here. It's not necessarily going to be a guaranteed engage on the Ezreal or the LeBlanc. You know, maybe just feeling like they need that hard engage to really be able to get up on top of them, and then feeling like they can layer crowd control thereafter. They are really drafting pretty heavily for a bit of a dive comp here. You have Renekton and Sett. They're going to be looking for flanks. You send in that Rakan to actually knock up and apply plasma for the Kai'Sa, who can then follow up and create this sort of, you know, full-on dive. It is going to make their lane, I think, pretty weak, though. Kai'Sa Rakan, not exactly a strong 2v2, and it does mean that, you know, they don't really have much appeal either, actually, for the Kai'Sa, who could potentially be in some trouble come teamfight time.
Yep, especially if LeBlanc is maybe going to get out of hand here. Jensen, as you said, has been playing a lot of control mages this year, but particularly this split. LeBlanc is a champion that can get a lot of leverage against Azir, but you tend to need your jungler to come and assist you in that pressure. So Broxah has been much more defensive than I was expecting him to. This is a jungler that was extremely hyped, like very aggressive, known for his Lee Sin especially. Certainly has been more on utility picks, more tanky jungler champions. So even on something like the Volibear, certainly more chances with Jensen's LeBlanc to maybe open up the game and become that mid-jungle duo that at least I dreamed of Ezreal when they were paired together in the league. I
mean, that's really what everyone was talking about when Broxah first, you know, was arriving in NA in spring. Everyone's like, okay, this is signifying, you know, you no longer want to play that slower style that maybe Xmithie was bringing to the table. You're now looking to really get aggressive and slam the early 2v2 and snowball the game. And mostly what we've just gotten is Broxah warding and farming a lot. And, you know, his notable games have honestly been more for the blunders than they have been for the big carry performances. You know, him getting Flame Horizon by closer, you know, some of his kind of more questionable ganks that led to him getting punished in bad matchups. Things like that is more unfortunately what has stood out from Broxah to me. You know, he hasn't been bad, but he definitely hasn't been the dominant force that I think a lot of people, myself included, were really expecting him to be coming into Team Liquid.
Well, it certainly hasn't hurt them too much. TL still looked very good so far this season. Is going to start on red here with assistance from Tactical and CoreJJ. Dardoch alone in the jungle on the same side, so they will be jungling towards opposite sides of the map. And already Impact is getting the slaps happening. As you said, Shen, surprisingly good in more matchups than you might think. And Impact knows his way around this champion.
And also, it got buffed, and it's actually a really significant buff. The passive shield is 20 higher at level 1, which is actually very, very big. And especially if you can actually get the pull-through on the Keyblade with your Q, you get the bonus attack speed as well as percentage health damage there. And the trades become very, very powerful. And generally what Shen is looking for in these types of melee matchups is to stack up, get your grasp ready for your first auto, and then look for these trades where you can potentially proc the grasp at the start and the end of that trade.
Yep, nice little trade there. Just missed the taunt, I believe, but still got in range to proc the grasp and get the pull through on the Q. Impact is just straight zoning this Croc right now on the Shen.
Yeah, I mean, the level 1 is just so strong for Shen now, with both the Q as well as the buff actually to the shield. So, you know, Viper perhaps underestimating that a bit. Not too big of a deal, though. He does have some sustain on this Renekton, so, you know, we'll be able to be in an okay spot, and it's not like he's even had his potion forced or anything like that. You know, but Shen holding his own against the Renekton is just extremely valuable because this is a champion that plays so well into the mid and late game. The ultimate has so much use when you are playing a champion that wants to go heavily through the side lane like LeBlanc. And also just the parry zone is so incredibly powerful when you have a lot of champions that, you know, are fairly auto attack based.
Mid lane already, Fenix going to be forced to flash, the chain's going to land, the stun's going to go in, and that's first blood! We asked for it and we received. Jensen's going to nab it.
Nicely done by Jensen. A lot of patience there shown by him to actually hold onto the chains, you know, while Fenix was in those minions, and then until he flashed out, he lands the chains, and that was always going to secure that kill. Broxah and Jensen pairing up for an early gank onto Fenix, and not only did they kill him, they got his flash too, which means he's going to be a lot more vulnerable. And I'm not sure if he actually just didn't have a soldier available, you know, to kind of jump backwards, or if he had already used that and we missed that. But either way, surprising that gank actually worked so well, despite Fenix blowing his flash.
Yeah, TP'd back, so Fenix will maintain some initiative here in the lane, but is obviously going to feel pretty unsafe, especially if a regank is possible. Impact dashing out of the way of Viper, suspects that Dardoch is here, and we can see that he certainly is.
Yep.
So gets the pull through there, procs the Grassman. Dardoch is maybe thinking about sticking around, but the wave is not pushing in the right direction. He's going to sneak into this top rush instead.
But with how big the wave is, they could actually potentially dive him. So that's kind of the danger here now is, you know, are they going to dive? But really what Dardoch wanted to do is just make sure that Viper could actually safely push out. They didn't know where Broxah was, so this gives him the cover to do that. And we did get to see kind of this little mini-game showcase between those two champions. You know, when Viper jumps forward as the Shen, you are trying to predict when Renekton is going to use his stun. And you're going to try to use your parry zone to actually, you know, stop that stun from coming through, because it can actually block it and use the cooldown. But Viper held on to it, and then that is why you see Impact then having to taunt backwards to escape from the stun that is going to come out as soon as that parry zone does end. So it's a lot of prediction and anticipation on when your opponent is going to use the parry zone, when your opponent is going to use the stun. And whoever comes out on top in that little guessing game often is going to be who wins the trades.
Broxah back here again. I've seen this play already, haven't I? Dardoch also here though, so it's going to be a 2v2 instead. Jensen lining it up. They know though, Electrocute procced and Broxah immediately going to run out. So Dardoch forced to come back in pretty quickly, but no one really takes too much damage on either side.
Yeah, nicely done by Dardoch. Right place, right time, twice in a row, kind of just guiding in his solo laner's waves. But because he has spent time, you know, shadowing his laners, Broxah was actually just farming during a lot of that time. And you can see that Broxah not only has the potential gank that he did pull off mid lane, you know, went for another one here, but he's still up quite a bit of farm. Yes, there are more minions on the map for Dardoch to pick up, so we can close that gap a little bit, but jungling is so much about how you actually spend your time, right? You know, is it really efficient? Are you spending too long on your ganks? Are you spending too much time farming when you need to be protecting your lanes? And thus far, Broxah is doing a much better job of actually managing that.
Yep, and in mid lane, we can see Jensen actually still hasn't based yet, so the advantage he got from that first blood hasn't even materialized, and he's still currently up 10 CS as he's looking to push this wave in and probably go home for a shop here. Phoenix will be able to play catch up. That looks like about 10 minions to me, as Phoenix is going to go ahead and clear that out. But gold-wise, you can see Jensen actually up about 600 or 700 gold, so now that he's gone back and bought this Lost Chapter and this Dark Seal, can certainly make the lane a lot better for him. As TL also going to start this dragon as Jensen's going to TP back in to help.
Yeah, they could go for the steal, but this is way too risky for Dignitas. I don't think they should even try with Jensen actually TPing over to that. So that's really nice timing. You know, get that good base ready for Jensen. Use him to TP to actually protect that dragon take. They can see Phoenix is on minions in mid lane, doesn't have his TP to respond. Shen is also 6, so that would be even more dangerous to go for.
Speaking of 6, Viper going to pop the ulti. Dominus onto Impact, trying to get the 1v1 kill. See you later, Shields. Impact getting low. But Viper not going to flash for it. Didn't have a follow-up stun, and Impact just staying firm in the lane.
Yeah, Impact there, you know, when you taunt forward and you actually don't get that parry onto the stun, as he didn't in that case, then Renekton can look for an all-in, and that's exactly what happened there. He taunts forward, you now have no escape, you don't land the parry on the stun, and Renekton can just pop the ultimate and go aggressive. So Viper taking a very nice trade there. It does cost him the ult, though. So because Impact didn't end up going down and had his potion charges, he's really not in that bad of a spot whatsoever.
Dardoch isn't 6, but aphromoo is here as well. Jensen going to go forward, but again, back to the distortion. A chain being eaten there by Phoenix is bad news on that trade, and unfortunately for him, aphromoo is now going to have to show himself in mid lane, because there's no way they're ganking this LeBlanc right now.
And the sad part about it is when your mid laner is losing like this and isn't in a matchup where you can actually go for a lot of ganks yourself, because LeBlanc is so evasive, Dardoch is having to spend all this time around mid lane just to protect Phoenix from a potential gank. Not even really for an opportunity to get a kill themselves. You know, it's a lot of an investment there for not that much reward, because the reward is just your mid laner not dying. He's still losing. He's still down a lot of farm. But he's based on a non-cannon wave, so he's going to lose all of those minions to the turret very likely, and you know, be down almost 20 CS after this blue buff goes to Jensen.
Yeah, I actually love the choice Jensen made there. He held the wave, which he's been doing the whole time, just so he can open up space to harass this Azir. Because Phoenix now has his flashback up, but he knows he didn't have TP. But as soon as he sees him leave, he just insta-ults the wave with the upgraded distortion, clears it, and then denies all those farm offs. So Jensen, it's funny that we almost complained about, like, man, Broxah's not the player we've been. Like, Jensen's been, like, so much more controlled and, like, more defensive as a player. But, you know, wanted a bit more vintage play from these two. And certainly Jensen's playing a little bit more like his old self this game.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Jensen has been incredible this whole split. You know,
Correct.
I'm definitely not trying to say that Jensen was bad by any means. He's just been favoring the control mages. Even on those control mages, he has been very lane dominant. You know, more for me, it was not even that Broxah is playing bad, but just that Broxah is playing very different than what I was expecting, you know, because I was expecting kind of the crazy early game guy who was going to snowball, as he did a lot on Fnatic, you know, was really known for being effective with their early game. And we got more of kind of that control style warding, playing for objectives, that it's been very effective for TL because they do have great late game carries. And, you know, I think that's kind of more the style that they're comfortable with. That's the style that they won really all their championships with, was playing for mid and late game team fights and snowballing objectives. So it's more the kind of tried and true style that they know.
Well, Broxah going to continue finding advantages here for TL. They're up almost 2,000 gold as the Rift Herald's going to be taken there by Broxah. I have a suspicious feeling that turret plates are going to head Jensen's way in just a few minutes, but we'll have to see as Fenix continuing to get harassed here by this LeBlanc. You can see the CS difference. Now this is starting to really hurt. That's 25 between the two mid laners right now.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. And the fact that Jensen has, you know, that early Lost Chapter. Lost Chapter is better, generally speaking, the earlier you get it because of that passive. You get all the mana back every time you level up, and obviously early in the game, you're leveling up more often. So it pretty much means you can always just spam out spells nonstop. And it's always going to feel, honestly, extra bad. It feels terrible anytime you miss cannon, but it feels even worse when you're already behind, as Fenix, you know, missed an uncontested cannon there to the tower. So he's set pretty back. You know, Jensen is going to have his Luden's buy very early on. You know, he already has the components plus the Sork boots, and Fenix is kind of set on more of this defensive path with just a lot of these early game laning items because he didn't have enough gold to really go for a big piece.
This seems very dangerous for Fenix. Jensen doesn't know where the jungler is, so he's going to go in now, looking for the chain, doesn't find it, just out of range as he goes back to his distortion. Other than that, though, mid-jungle certainly looking good for TL right now. It feels like that's where the bulk of their advantage is currently rested. Otherwise, bottom lane going fine for Dig. I think Tactical and Johnsun have mostly just been trading farm. And same in the top lane, just been trading farm there as Impact and Viper. Probably more concerned about their impact in the upcoming team fights as Dragon is spawning in 20 seconds. Jensen continuing to harass this Azir, though, despite the blue buff for Fenix. He cannot shirk the LeBlanc from getting on top of him. As Dardoch, got a Chilling Spite Nimbus Cloak trade.
Yeah, just the Chilling Spike goes down for Broxah, so Dardoch just uses his to back it up. There it is. The stun is used after that parry zone, so Viper just popping ult, trying to get aggressive, but wasn't sure if he could actually chase into that river. Didn't necessarily know where some of those TL members were. Viper's just trying to get this pushed out because I think he may have Cleaver gold ready. Could be looking to go for a reset, but doesn't feel like they're actually in a position to challenge the Dragon whatsoever. So Dignitas, you know, is going to be sitting back and looking to scale once again. And I will say that in the games recently where Dignitas has looked bad, it's often games like this where they just don't contest anything and then they eventually lose. You know, they were really highly criticized for the Kog'Maw game. You know, that was a game that I cast and was really disappointed watching them, how they were kind of just willing to give up everything. It's not at that point yet, but it is starting to feel like it a little bit. You know, they've given up 2 uncontested dragons. They've given up the Rift Herald. Yes, you have really good scaling with the Azir and the Kai'Sa, but if you lose full control of the map, you start getting too far down in gold and objectives that your scaling doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah, because you just can't find any position to find a fight as Broxah going to go down bottom lane. I was wrong about the plate collection, but it is going to happen still. Break out the dinner set as Broxah kind of chain the Herald there into the bottom lane and look to knock it down. It's getting close.
It's gone. Pretty much. I mean, it's going to be low enough, I think. It's about 2.5. Oh, not quite.
Good enough, we'll call it there. As Fuji's going to push the wave in. Hey, they still got the gold. That's all the Tactical cares about as Broxah is going to go back to base after picking up the Cloud Drake and donating some money to the bottom half of the map using that Herald. Good times all around on TL right now. Feeling very comfy in this sort of spot.
They are for sure. I will say that that again, you know, Johnsun and aphromoo have laned pretty well. You know, both these lanes are honestly fairly weak. But anytime I think you're playing Kai'Sa and you are up in farm in lane, you are feeling pretty damn happy. You know, it is 11 CS, so not insignificant. You know, some of that will even out here, but they've had the same amount of minions to farm, and he's almost up 2 waves, so pretty well done there by Johnsun and aphromoo. And we'll see exactly how he can perform, you know, going forward, because I think a lot of the pressure is going to be on him. Fenix has been targeted very heavily, so Fenix is actually pretty far behind the curve as to where he would want to be at this point. And that means that Johnson's going to have to do some more of this heavy lifting. And he's already stacking up the own mana. He's working towards that Rage Blade. And on those 2 items, he is going to be very strong. But Tactical will get to his 2 items faster. He has the Cull that can still cash out. And that's going to put him, you know, at a really, really strong point in the game.
Has finished the Manamune now. They're just waiting to stack up for the transform. Impact and Viper continuing to duel here in the top lane, but with the Tiamat and the Jerem's Fist, Impact is just fine navigating these matchups, as there we go. That's the work that Broxah did earlier with the Rift Herald, as Tactical will pick up the first tower gold for himself, just missing that final plate, but not a big deal here for TL as they look to set up once again Vision deep into the enemy blue side jungle.
Yeah, the gold is really getting concerning for me now. You know, I do think because Dignitas, you know, is kind of giving up a lot. They're starting to bleed out quite a bit of gold now. The Rift Herald's cashed in 4K this early. This really is just starting to feel like that game where they played Kog'Maw, kind of did nothing the whole game and then lost. As we're going to watch Viper die up here.
Yep, tower dive incoming. Does have his flash, pops the ulti as well. Jensen going to miss the first distort, but the backup one is more than enough as Dardoch going to chase up here, but nothing to really play for. Just slaps him in the face and watches TL hit recall.
Yeah. Yeah, it's getting a bit rough.
Yeah.
For Dignitas. You know, this was the game that they played against the Golden Guardians, right? Where they went Cog Lulu.
Ooh.
And they had, you know, this losing lane on the top side and whatnot. As we have a TP coming in here from Impact, we'll see if he can actually outplay the ultimate from Johnsun.
It's a solo play from Impact. You already forced out the heal. Oh, Johnsun gets out.
Yeah, well done by Johnsun. Does escape, so TP down for Impact, but Impact still has the Shen ultimate, so they can continue to make these plays happen cross-map. 5,000 gold at 15 minutes, and you have to fight for the next objectives. It's not like you took the early game dragons and then can kind of chill a little bit while you get your scaling advantage. Like, I just don't see how they could ever possibly win the next dragon fight, and then you're at Soul Point, and it's just the Golden Guardians game all over again, where you do nothing the whole game, can't contest, and the game's over before you ever actually fight. And that's exactly where it feels like we're heading in this Dignitas game, unfortunately for them once again.
Yep, certainly tricky, but we'll look at Dardoch and aphromoo to get things going, because the pick is certainly a way that you can find yourselves a team fight win, because it's much easier to win 5v4 than it is 5v5 in this kind of situation.
That is true. But look at the items on mid and bot, right? Like, that's the problem, is it's like, sweet, you're going for these engages. You don't even have your first item completion for Fenix. The 2 items already come through for Ezreal. Yes, it is a cheaper build, so it's always going to be faster, but you're down 5,000 gold, and now you're going to give up another Rift Herald. Both the outers are already down in mid and bot. The top outer is undefended, so that's probably dead here too. Like, they're just not contesting anything. You just don't win the game by playing like this, and it's honestly kind of shocking to watch Dignitas do it after they did it last week and lost. Yes, they are set up around that dragon, but Jensen's going to get this for free, has his teleport, so he can join. And you're down 6,000 gold, essentially, here. How do you actually propose you're going to win the team fight?
Oh, perhaps we'll find out. TL are going to move in onto the objective.
Give it up.
Yeah, looks like with the recall timings we can see. Oh, Johnsun already poked out as well by Ezreal. That is rough times in mid lane.
Yeah. This game is over. Unlucky for Dignitas here. This is the same thing. It's a repeat of last week, unfortunately.
Ooh, solo kill?
Yeah, maybe.
Looking like one. Chain lands. Electrocutes. Oh, Jensen! He's so good at League of Legends. Take it all back. Phoenix lives. Nice flash.
Yeah, Jensen actually flashed there too. Bit of miscommunication because Impact was coming in, so he could have actually stayed forward and got that kill. Either way, they took down the mid lane tier 2. They got the 3rd dragon. They're stealing away the red buff. Dignitas has really given up any chance, I think, that they had of kind of taking this game. You know, they're now dependent upon TL misplays. You know, they can no longer rely on their own good play, I think, to win this game. I think you're simply too far behind this early.
And again,
they put themselves in this spot.
Yeah, and again, TL, I think one of their biggest strengths as a team, this has been true across iterations of this 4-time winning championship team is that their consistency is very difficult to replicate. This is a team that, yes, while they might play, you know, a little too slowly for some people's taste, myself included, because I love high-octane, overly bloody League of Legends, because honestly that's what I was raised on. But TL are just so good at not giving away advantages, especially when they're ahead. I would guess, like, if you look at the lifetime of teams that have played in the LCS, that TL's like rate of converting their leads would be some absurd number, because they're just so methodical and clean about how they approach this kind of situation. And it's even harder with this comp because you're getting split by Shen and LeBlanc, you're already behind, and then either of those champions can join for any of the engages that might break out across the map, and you have no map control, of course, because you don't have a tower taking it. It is just, like, it is challenging.
I mean, they're getting perfect games.
Yes, that's true,
like,
actually.
This is
now that you mention it,
it's just really sad to watch. Dignitas does have some really good games, and then they have games like this where I'm just like, I don't honestly couldn't say what their thought process is on how they're going to win this game, because I don't actually believe that there is one. To me, when I watch a game like this just reeks of indecision. This reeks of not being able to actually decide on a path forward in the game. So you're all kind of just arguing on what to do, and nothing gets decided, right? Because that's how you end up in a situation where you're down almost 7,000 gold, you're getting perfect gamed at 20 minutes, and you haven't even tried to play yet. It's not as though they've tried a lot of stuff and it's failed. They, you know, are just giving everything to TL. And to your whole point about, you know, TL being one of the best teams ever and actually closing out games with the lead, I agree, which makes this strategy even worse against TL, right? You're putting them completely in their comfort zone. So it's just kind of bewildering to watch Dignitas play it out like this. You know, you're at Soul Point. You have lost 5 towers. You have 0 map control. Like, their furthest ward is not even really all the way in their jungle. It's in the brush outside their base. That's the extent of their vision. How are you ever going to be able to move to even contest the next dragon without just inting? Like, and if it feels like the next fight is just them walking to Soul, getting aced, and then that's it.
I mean, like, that last vision ward is also under threat of being killed as well. TL are closing in on Dignitas here, because CoreJJ is going to spot Dardoch there with the Winter's Bite. Impact Shen also, I mean, we could talk at length about how good Broxah and Jensen have been this game in opening up this lead, but Shen being back in the meta is like music to Impact's ears, I'm sure. He's mastery on this champion, and its synergy with the style of League of Legends that TL want to play is just like a match made in heaven. Like, they already want to play this kind of game where they can just very methodically close it out and split the map. And Impact, like, when Shen is good in the meta, can at least go even in most of the lanes he's in. And he's just so good with playing with his trading and utility. Like, so this is a pick that I will start watching now for TL, because he already played it once before the buff happened. He was the only other player besides Licorice that played it before this patch 10.15. And it's one of those things where when I saw it, I'm like, oh yeah, I feel like Impact could play that champion. That seems problematic.
That game. He went 7-0, and it was that game against CLG where he absolutely ran over Deus, I believe, on his substitution debut. I just think Impact is great on champions where it was against Ornn, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
But he's great on champions where he doesn't have a lot of pressure in the early game, you know, where he can play side lanes. He's really good at his map play. That's always been something where he really excels. It's a reason why he's great on GP. It's a reason why he's great on Shen, because he doesn't have to dominate early to have an incredible amount of use for the team later on, right? He can play a matchup even. He can withstand pressure. He can then take control of the side lanes, and he has such a good understanding of where to be on the map and how to exert a lead, how to, you know, circumvent the opponent's advantages. We do have Dignitas at least setting up now for this dragon. There is also the option for TL of actually just saying, all right, you have to go to the dragon or we get Soul, and then just giving up one dragon and taking Baron. So, you know, that gets risky now too, because we are post 20 minutes. Dignitas has kind of shown us that this is where they're going to make their stand, and this is going to be the make or break fight. They are down massively, but if they lose this fight, the game is absolutely, completely over.
Yeah, I mean, this play is forced, but Dig know that this is where they have to try and make a play. Broxah going to be targeted there by Dardoch, but Dardoch probably doesn't want to ulti the Volibear right now. Needs to get towards the pit, though, because there will be a contest for this dragon. aphromoo going to pop the ulti, finds the charm onto 2. They'll dive in the backside there, but CoreJJ going to disengage with the ulti, and Dignitas must turn tail and run. Impact, ulti's in, finds the taunt. Tactical is going to take down Fenix, and this is going to be an absolute slaughter as they are. Impact chasing down Johnsun, CoreJJ slays Dardoch, Renekton dies, aphromoo dies as Impact lands a max range taunt, and make it 4 kills for TL as they charge towards Dig's Nexus.
All right, Dignitas, time to get out the game. You've lost. They are going to get perfect gamed here, I think, unless TL decides that they want to, give them some pity kills by the Nexus or something. But this is Soul. That was your last stand. A 0-for-4 fight where you give up the Soul and you're probably going to lose some towers around here as well.
Oh, that's gross. Jensen's in there. Impact with the taunt to set it all up. And the emotes fly wild as that is the delayed ace for Team Liquid.
I'm just so disappointed, honestly, in Dignitas. I was disappointed with their last game where they played like this. I'm even more disappointed by this one. Dignitas has got to wake up. This is a team that has a chance to make playoffs, has a chance to catch someone like CLG. You are not going to do it playing League of Legends like this because this is just awful.
And it's tough to blame you for feeling that way, but I think we can at least celebrate how good Team Liquid have looked this game. It was be the second perfect game of the split, as they're going to take Baron as well, just because, might as well get your bonus prize at the end of it all. TL just going to take everything off the map. Dig, again, must find a multitude of miracles at this point in their base.
I mean, at this point, you're hoping for some disconnects. I think that's the strategy. Here it is. I mean, Afro finds a decent engage here. Does catch Tactical. The Charm, did land, but Tactical did buffer his E, and then the Flash plus the Shen ultimate. It's not as though he was very close to actually going down. Tactical still remains at pretty much full health. And this is just the power of the gold lead. You are so enormously behind, despite the fact, that stun lands on Tactical, both from Viper and Dardoch. He is stacked on by the melee, but he's tanky enough at this point that it just doesn't matter. He was never really under threat, so TL, they get engaged on, they win the fight, and they are looking to close out this perfect game. Nearly 13,000 gold ahead here now at 25 minutes. They have that Mountain Soul as well.
All right,
With
Impact.
all the damage he doesn't
Is he going to be the only one to give a kill over? Taunts onto Fenix. The TP's coming in. Jensen wants to save his buddy as the rest of TL are reinforcing. This looks awfully tricky for Dig.
They got him to 90%. Let's go.
Jensen's going to take somebody out here. I feel like there's the Stormbringer. Going to disable the Sun Turret. Dardoch gets a face breaker there. And now going to dunk them back into the team fight. But Tactical's cut off Viper. Jensen is just destroying people with these assaultions. Broxah is low. There's the double kill out of the LeBlanc. Going to make it a few more. That's a quadra kill. And Tactical, he steals the Penta as TL find back-to-back aces to end the game.
Scumbag Tactical takes away the Penta, but TL crushed this one start to finish. A flawless game as they push in, and they will complete the perfect game here over Dignitas. Absolute domination. Dignitas never stood a chance.
The second of the season, 25 stacks in Jensen's book, and another victory for Team Liquid as they will take sole possession of first place for now, because this Nexus is gone. Don't do it. Don't do it to me. Don't throw your life into the fountain. Don't throw the game away! Impact! Oh!
Oh, no.
How dare you!